Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 54. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Wednesday, Steelers Nation. Dave, hope you're doing well. Steelers, they're wearing their color rushes this weekend. Steelers by $1 billion is my early prediction.
Yeah, I'm not sure it'll be that big, but
No?
look, I like those uniforms. I don't know about
they're
you.
super sharp.
I really think there's the only other thing I think that would make me kind of more excited. And people say, well, what did you think about the the bumblebees and those kind of throwback uniforms? The numbers were so hard to read on those, that I don't mind the overall general concept. It's just the numbers are extremely hard to read on those. And of course, you go back to a couple of the other throwbacks that they have. I just think these all blacks are absolutely sharp. And the only other thing I'd really like to maybe see other than that would be the all whites from the 70s. And I think I'm in a huge minority when it comes to those. But man, to me, those all whites from the 70s certainly look sharp. But look, they're 5-0. When they wear the color rush, it's obviously a night game at Heinz Field. That place ought to be rocking pretty good. So you got to get whatever little maybe minor advantage that you think that you can get, and maybe that'll be enough to push them over the top there.
And I think most of Steelers Nation is with you because they lost their minds when Pittsburgh on Twitter announced last night that they were going to wear the color rush uniforms this weekend. So that'll be a lot of fun for a big game. Again, the battle for the 5 seed. If the Steelers beat Buffalo, they will have the 5th seed, the first wild card spot. So in this segues, I guess, into our injury report is that they might have a couple of faces coming back to try to do that and beat the Buffalo Bills. Mike Tomlin had his press conference on Tuesday, and although it's still uncertain and no one really knows how this is going to play out, Tomlin said he expects both James Conner and JuJu Smith-Schuster to practice in some capacity at some point this week. I believe sooner rather than later was the phrase that he used. So will they play Sunday? We still don't know. Tomlin fell back on the old, we'll let practice participation be our guide kind of deal. But again, encouraging news for both of those guys.
Yeah, I think it is. And we definitely will see here in the next by this afternoon when the first injury report comes out, what it looks like for these guys. Obviously JuJu seems to be kind of pretty positive when it comes to his status, but aren't they all?
Right.
And I didn't. Did you listen to? I don't know. Did James Conner have anything really anything pertinent to say on his injury? I mean, on his radio show the other day.
I haven't even listened to it yet.
Yeah, I didn't see anything pop out of that. But look, I mean, we've talked about how this guy probably chomping at the bit to get back for several reasons. Obviously, if he's not 100%, he shouldn't come back because you're only going to be hurting the team. But, I mean, it does sound like in some capacity. And, look, he's been limited, the last 4 or 5 days on the injury report or 6 days or however long it's been. He just obviously hasn't played. So we'll have to see if he's able to go full Wednesday after or, Wednesday today, and same with JuJu here. It certainly sounds like there's a good chance in that. And Mike Tomlin was kind of he didn't want to put a definitive out there, but he says I don't know what their anticipated practice participation is as I stand here right now, but those guys are expected to participate in practice, at least in some capacity, and probably sooner rather than later in the week. And we'll look at the quality of that work and the ramifications of the aftermath. Boy, aftermath sounds like a tough word there, but ramifications of the aftermath of that work in terms of talking about their availability. So there we are, kind of wait and see mode until the Wednesday injury report comes out. Additionally, Mike Tomlin talked about tight end Vance McDonald, who was in the concussion protocol after that game against the Cardinals, and Jaylen Samuels, who was having his groin looked at. I'm wondering if I can get my groin looked at today. But other than that, look, Jaylen Samuels, I think he's probably highly questionable right now. Did you see when that play that Vance McDonald suffered his injury on? It really didn't seem that obvious. You know,
Yeah, when he pulled around, he got popped and I think just landed weird.
yeah, I don't know if he just, it didn't look like there was a lot of head-to-head
Mm-hmm.
kind of contact there. But look, I mean, we always got to caution about this whole concussion thing in the protocol, so we'll have to see how that goes. And they're already, if they get James Conner back this week, there's going to have to be a running back that's probably down this week. So if Samuels has a tough time working through that groin injury, it might be him that winds up being inactive.
Yeah, and although Tomlin was not definitive about, will Connor or Juju play, he was definitive in the need to get those guys back. Later on in the press conference, asked, how much do you need Juju and Connor back for the offense? And Tomlin said simply a lot, which is fair. An offense that is showing some gradual improvement, but getting both of those guys back would be huge for the state of this offense.
Yeah, most definitely. And also he was kind of talked about, he was asked about when and if, he does get Connor back, does he know what kind of work, how the workload will get distributed? And, Tomlin, he doesn't want to get into that hypothetical type situations. Obviously, if he's got a clean bill of health and he's prepared, we know what James is capable of, but we'll ponder those things as they're presented to us in an effort to not waste time with the hypotheticals. Even if, Benny Snell, there's a lot of praise for Benny Snell by some more praise for Benny Snell by Mike Tomlin. Some positive words about Kareth White by Mike Tomlin during his press conference on Tuesday. I would think that if James Conner's ready to go, we're not going to see him out there for like 28 carries and for 79% of the snaps. I think that's just asking a little bit much on a first game back. Maybe he can get to that, start closing out the season. But heck, you got potential playoff. Look, you got to play to win every game, obviously, because the Steelers aren't in this thing just yet. But I would be a bit surprised if we saw an extreme workload for James Conner in his first game back, and especially if he's not 100%, which I got to admit, after reading everything and listening to everything right now, I'm not convinced that shoulder will be 100% for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, the exact extent of the injury. I have to ask Dr. Mel about, can it fully heal in this time frame, or will it always be tender, and is it just a matter of getting back to play to a point where you're not going to risk re-injury and potential surgery? I don't know how that works, but overall, I agree with you. I'd be shocked if they used him in his quote-unquote normal kind of James Conner healthy workload of being the guy. I mean, you want to make sure he's healthy. He's got to get a bit of that Vance McDonald treatment where you want to manage his workload a bit so he's available to you later in the season and potentially for the playoffs when you really need him and you can open things up. And then B, just the rest of the guys in the backfield are playing well. Kareth White, Benny Snell. I think Jaylen Samuels has gotten better. Obviously, the groin injury may knock him out, but we'll see if he's available or not. So you have other guys that aren't going to produce a big drop-off if you take Connor off the field. They're playing well. They've run the ball for $120 and 3 straight games, which is our Daniel Valente pointed out, the first time the Steelers have done that in 5 years. So
wow.
You have other guys in the backfield that have stepped up that make you feel comfortable about playing Connor maybe 50% of the snap instead of his usual 80 to 90%.
And not just that, you're getting the success rates,
Right.
On top of it's not just the yards, because obviously you could have 10 carries go for 100 yards, and if you got 90 yards on one carry, odds are your other 9 weren't successful runs. Now, obviously you want those big runs in there, but I've become a big believer over the years in success rates overall, not just total yardage or yards per attempt. And I think one thing that we're seeing right now is not only are they producing yardage on the ground, they're producing a nice quality of success rates, which is something we didn't see in the first 10, 11 9, 10 games of the season. Obviously, I think we had that good game against they had that good game against Miami where James Conner had initially injured his shoulder at, but I'm a huge fan of not fixing something that isn't broken.
Right.
And right now, obviously, you want to integrate James Conner back in, to some degree. And I think in so many words, Mike Tomlin told us about Kareth White on Tuesday as well, too. He says, look, we're still getting to know him, and he's still getting to know himself right now. So, I still think we're looking at, regardless if James Conner even if James Conner plays this week, I think we're looking at what 7 to 9 snaps maybe for Kareth White, touching the ball about 4 or 5 times, and I think you need to do that because I think it's a nice little lightning to go along with your thunder, if you will. And Mike Tomlin was also asked about Kareth White and said, well, how is he in pass protection and how is he catching the ball out of the backfield? And Mike Tomlin says, in so many words, he says, I'm not worried about that right now because hopefully, we got enough people that can do that kind of thing that barring injury, and I'm paraphrasing here, we won't have to find that kind of stuff out. So I like how they're using Kareth White kind of in a Memo, Mwelde Moore type role minus the pass protection. Mm-hmm. And I think that should continue, and there's no reason not to be a little optimistic about where the running game is headed right now.
Sure. All these backs have a role. They all have a strength. Benny Snell, just kind of big picture. Benny Snell, the runner, downhill between the tackles. White kind of more out in space. Samuels as a receiver. I think Snell's done a good job as a blocker, and Connor's obviously capable of doing all of the things I just listed. So it gives you a lot of options. You don't feel like one guy has to do it all. You can kind of play it situationally. So yeah, run games turn around, and getting Connor back would be huge. And then if you get JuJu back and you have a receiving, trio of Deontay Johnson, JuJu Smith-Schuster, and James Washington, based on the way that Johnson and Washington have been playing, and then obviously what JuJu offers, now you feel pretty confident about your receiver group for probably the first time all year long.
Yeah, most definitely. And look, I mean, you got to take your hat off and hand it to what some of these younger receivers have done so far. We've talked a few times about, Deion Kane. Overall, not huge numbers by any stretch of imagination, but I mean he has produced plays even when he hasn't caught the football. On top of it there, so I think that's significant. I think the one thing that continues to stick out to me when going over the all 22 the last couple of weeks is how these young wide receivers are blocking down the field, and Kane is definitely one of them there. So you want to get JuJu back in the fold, especially now that you've kind of had the last couple of weeks. Well, not kind of. You have had an emergence of James Washington, and then you follow that up with Mike Tomlin highlighted that. Last week we were talking about James Washington. This week we're talking about Deontay Johnson, and it's important to get kind of significant contributions out of those younger players like that late in the season moving forward, and they're going to need more of them as well too. And obviously getting JuJu back should only strengthen that room.
Yeah, absolutely. We assume that if Connor comes back, Samuel's probably not going to go, then he's going to be down. What happens at the receiver room? Is it Tevin Jones? Is it Johnny Holton who's odd man out? Or is it possible they dress all the receivers when JuJu comes back?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? I mean, because you might not have a tight end in there either.
Right.
Depending on what happens with Vance. And I don't think, you want Gentry. You probably don't want Gentry on the field much, if any. Obviously, you would have you'd probably go to more of your jumbo package of we talked about in the show the other day about having Banner and B.J. Finney in there.
And the Bills are a 4-3 front, right? I think so I mean, you usually bring in your tackles to deal with those ends more than you would tight ends, so that would make sense too.
Right. So, I mean, I guess I would lean toward dressing all capable eligibles, if you will.
If there was a receiver that had to go down, hypothetically, I think it would be Tevin Jones. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, because he's probably the less special teams, less of an asset of the bunch on special teams, right?
Right, he's done it before in preseason. He was kind of brought in for that DHB mold, but he hasn't. I don't think he's played really any special teams so far. And Holton is still a superior coverage kind of guy, gunner and kick coverage guy. That Kane offers you more offensively. So if they don't dress one of the receivers whenever JuJu comes back, my strong guess would be Tevin Jones.
Yeah, I would think Gentry would get the helmet if McDonald's down, and if Samuels winds up being down. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Tevin can stay up if McDonald dresses, or doesn't dress.
Yeah, it's possible they dress them all. I haven't done the whole layout. We'll see the injury report. But if someone goes down, my guess will be Tevin Jones. But again, to get Connor back, to get JuJu back, and then at receiver have JuJu in the slot, Deontay Johnson as the X, Washington as the Z, with the way those guys are playing. I mean, that's good timing too, because the Bills have a great secondary, great pass defense. Tre'Davious White can lock down corners or lock down receivers, so that'll be much needed to add more talent in the passing game.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Dave. Staying with Mike Tomlin, his press conference, what else did he say? It was kind of a funny press conference yesterday. Tomlin kind of felt like he was kind of on his game. What else did he say that stuck out to you?
Oh, let's see. I mean, talking about where else? Where was I going to go with this? The rookies. I thought him talking about being careful with too much exposure on when it comes to the young players was kind of an interesting topic, and this has kind of been the blueprint with this team anyway. No, a guy like your first round pick every year, the way these contracts are. I mean, you're going to try to get those guys in the fold, on the field sooner rather than later every year with your first rounders. Those guys kind of after it. You probably want to be a little bit careful with him. And look, had Dante Moncrief worked out the way the team had envisioned it, it probably would have delayed the process a little bit on Deontay Johnson. Mm-hmm. But Mike Tomlin has gone on, said yesterday, basically in so many words, that they still tried to limit the exposure on Deontay Johnson because of, I guess, the quote-unquote rookie wall. He says, look, unless they played at Alabama or somewhere, along those lines, they're in uncharted territory at this point of the season. Right. And I think that even makes it even more significant that in week 14 of the season, you had Deontay Johnson follow up a bad game or his worst game as a professional with his best game as a professional. Everybody knows that you're responsible for that. And I don't think you've gotten enough credit for that.
Well, thank you.
Special teams player of the week. That's got you written all over it, Alex. But I thought that was an interesting, kind of long 3 paragraphs, if you will, by Mike Tomlin when it came to that. And I thought the other interesting thing, and not overly surprising, was him being asked about, in so many words, can defense win championships, And, he said, look, he's a firm believer that defenses can win, those key. Well, how did he phrase that exactly here? Let me read off the quote so I don't get this wrong here. He was asked, how do you feel about how well your defense is doing in an era of great offenses? And that wasn't the exact question, but that was kind of the framework was, basically, do you believe defenses can win championships? And he goes on to say, I've always felt good about good defenses controlling the outcome of significant games. I believe that is an axiom of football. I think that is never going to change. I think if you have a good defense, you have a chance in any circumstance. Hear, 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 hear. Now, one thing that I missed when I wrote that up, I missed a quote, and I didn't come back across it until this morning. But he was asked about what's the common thread when you have a game-changing defense. He says, I think the type of game-changing defenses that you talked about, because he's asked about you've been part of, championship defenses. Obviously with the Steelers early on, and then going back to Tampa Bay in 2002 when he was on the Gruden staff that won the Super Bowl. That you go back and you look at the adjusted net yards on that. That's one of the best defenses all time. Probably probably about it. It was, but he goes. I think the type of game-changing defenses that you talked about, those reputations are built and really solidified in December and January. In particular, January. So, in other words, in playoffs. So, I don't think that discussion involves us. Well, obviously not. They're not in the playoffs just yet. Those other defenses, they rise up in those significant moments. They deliver in those significant moments, and they dominate versus quality opponents in January. So, that, you don't want to get that cart too far out in front of the horse here. But, as we've talked several times. Look, I've crunched the numbers. I've watched the tape. You've watched the tape. This is a damn good defense, man. And this is a defense that can potentially do damage getting in the playoffs as long as the offense doesn't kill them.
It is. It's an elite defense, at least elite relative to how defenses have to function in 2019, where offenses are going to move the football. They're going to put up some points. It's hard to be the 76 Steelers and just throw shutouts every single game with the way the league's currently constructed. But they get a lot of pressure. They create a lot of takeaways. They create a lot of chaos. And they do that consistently while being a fundamentally sound team. And that, to me, is how you're an elite defense in 2019. But I think Tomlin's point there wasn't to slight his defense. I know that you agree with that. I think it was just, his challenge to them of saying, yeah, I know everyone's talking you guys up, but you ain't done nothing yet. Let's go out there in the playoffs, and that's how you really cement your legacy. No one remembers the good defenses for what they do in the regular season. It's all about what they do in the playoffs and kind of how the history books are written. So that's just Tomlin being Tomlin and talking to his guys there and not talking to the media and kind of sending them the message of there's still a long ways to go.
And absolutely, look, it's going to be disappointing as hell right now if this team ultimately doesn't get into play. We went through kind of the period of, oh Lord, 0-3 start. I don't know about it and all, and then still kind of getting on kind of a game by game basis there in the middle of where this streak is right now. And there should be some optimism because of the way the defense is playing. Then you go through the whole quarterback change. A few weeks ago there, and look, I mean, they're coming out of this thing on the other side right now, okay, but you're still not in this thing, and
right.
I mean, here we are in week 15, and they're technically, I guess you could say, one of 3 or 4 teams fighting for. Look, we think Buffalo's going to get in, right? I mean, all they got to do is win one more game.
Mm-hmm.
And you think they would be able to do that. So basically, you have 3 teams, playing for one spot. So it'll be extremely disappointing, I think, at this point now, at where we're at, if this team didn't make it into the playoffs. And it's important for him to keep that whole team not to not be too full of themselves right now, because. Alex, I looking back at this thing, this team's lost 1 game since they lost to Baltimore.
Right.
That's you look back at it now, it seems like it's been a struggle every week, and your probably your short-term memory wants to say, man, they've lost more than 1 game dating back to Baltimore, but no, that's what it is. And quite honestly, they probably still kicking themselves for losing that game against Baltimore back in week 5 there. And if Mason Rudolph doesn't throw 14 interceptions against Cleveland in that Thursday night game, they still probably have a chance to win that one as well too.
Yeah, it's got a weird feel for a team that's won 7 of 8. But you're right. There's still a ways to go. And if they lose to Buffalo this Sunday, then our conversation shifts fairly dramatically. I mean, you have a chance if you win, you're going to be the 5 seed. If you lose, you're probably more than likely going to be on the outside looking in and probably needing some help the rest of the way. And certainly having to win out your last 2 games against the Jets in Baltimore. So this is obviously a critical game against Buffalo. They're a really good team. They hung tough with the Ravens last week. But yeah, to go back to Tomlin in the defense, I mean, I would hope his answer to that question would be yes, defense can still win you championships. Otherwise, the Steelers are in trouble because that's how they're going to have to win. That's going to be the side of the ball carrying them. And then they go back to the initial point you made a couple minutes ago about limiting the snap count of some of the rookies. I think it's a good point. It's something I probably don't consider enough because that's me putting on my fan hat too much of, just play these guys because they're the best guys. And I'm not thinking so much about managing workloads and snap counts and making sure these guys are ready for the stretch run so they don't hit the rookie wall. So I think that is a reasonable explanation for why you see guys like Barron and play more than you'd like to, even though you kind of know that they're not the most talented guys pound for pound, but you want to make sure Bush is fresh and ready for the end of the year. So I think overall they're doing a good job of managing those rookies and letting them play fresh, and that's why you see Deontay Johnson making big plays late in the season.
Boy, how crazy would it be if this team ends up once again, I don't want to get too far out there, but you know me, and for several weeks now, I've been excited about this defense, at least not only from a tape aspect, but from a statistical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this team right now leads what was the stat yesterday? Leads the team obviously in sacks and takeaways, and not since the how was that phrase? Not since the 19.
The Steelers one? Is that
yeah.
Yep.
Where is the let's see, the Steelers lead the NFL in sacks, quarterback hits, and takeaways in 2019. Since the 1970 merger, only one team has led the NFL outright in both sacks and takeaways for a full non-strike shortened season. That team, The 1974 Steelers, the original Steel Curtain, and Super Bowl IX champions there. So look, you don't want these guys reading too much of their press, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've seen since the acquisition of Minkah Fitzpatrick in Week 3. This is a damn good defense. It'll be disappointing if they give up more than 20, more than 20 points a game moving forward into the rest of the way right now.
It just feels like, Keith Butler's always had the goal of don't allow more than, 16, 17 points a game, which is fair, set your goals high. But with defenses in past years, it kind of felt hollow because you just like, all right, well, they're not going to be able to do that, so what's the point? For this defense, it feels like you can hold any team to 16 or 17 points, and so that's a difference this year. And so you're seeing this defense play awesome, whether it's pressure, takeaways. The tackling's been solid. It's playing mistake-free. There has not been a lot of communication issues. Always going to be a couple, but that's natural when you play 1,100 snaps over the course of a season. And they're just having a lot of fun, too, which I think they feed off each other. They like to see their teammate make plays. They're an unselfish group, and you combine all those factors, and you have one heck of a group.
Yep, and they're going to get. Look, this is going to be Mike Tomlin said it's going to be a 5-star matchup. They're happy.
Why? Because they're in it.
Because they're in it. He says got flexed. They don't take that lightly. So, look, you got the color rush. You got the Bills at home. It's a night game. Last home game of the season. You got everything. You should be a fairly healthy team going into this as well. The Bills, kind of banged up, kind of coming off. And look, I still don't think we know who the Bills are.
I think they're a good team. I mean, to what degree is probably debatable, but they're a good team that's going to be competitive in most games against most opponents, including Pittsburgh.
I keep going back to the one thing that I said a few weeks ago about the Bills is, they've only beaten one team this season that had a winning record at the time that they played them, and that was the Dallas Cowboys there on Thanksgiving.
How many teams have the Steelers beat with a winning record?
I think it's 2.
The Rams and
was it the Colts?
Well, the Colts have a losing record now.
No, I'm talking about at the
time
that they played them.
Okay, then I think Indy did have a winning record, so 2.
I think I looked at that the other day, and I think it was 2.
Okay.
Which,
so
not a lot, but it's 2 more than obviously 2 more than their opponent this week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously the Bills have a winning record, so you have a chance to win another here. Didn't the Chargers have a winning record when they played them or no?
I honestly don't remember at this point.
Were they 500? I don't remember.
I can check if you want me to. Go ahead. I'll look it up while you talk.
But regardless, look, this is a Bills defense. You've got 2 of the better defenses in the league. They both have identical, I think, 4.8 defensive adjusted net yards per passing attempt stats. They both kind of do it a little bit. Obviously, they're more of a 4-down team. Defensively there. Obviously, the Steelers are dominating in sacks and the takeaway department there. Going to be interesting to see these 2 teams go at it, especially with Josh Allen coming off of a game against the Ravens where he was hit 12 times and sacked 6 times. It'd be interesting to see if he shows up on the injury report later today with that ankle, because I have to imagine that thing kind of swelled up on him after that game because he had to get that thing wrapped, taped up pretty good return in that game. And, a lot of what he does, his threats are taking off with the football. Mike Tomlin, that's another thing that Mike Tomlin mentioned during his Tuesday press conferences. Really, they have more designed runs with him than, say, a Kyler Murray does with the Cardinals, because Josh Allen's second year in the system, because he's a second-year quarterback there. So if you take away the element of him being able to run with the football away from that offense, this is already an offense, and look, Josh Allen's like 24.5%. I think, on balls more than 20 yards down the field this year. That's obviously not great, and the Steelers are a defense that has not given up very many 20-plus yard throws down the field on top of it there. So, to me, that just screams, man, just don't turn the football over. Don't miss any field goals in this game, and you might be okay.
Yeah, it's a good way to win a lot of games based on the blueprint of the team, where you're going to keep the score down with the defense Pittsburgh has. The Chargers, by the way, were 2-3 heading
Ooh,
into the
okay.
Steelers game, so that loss dropped them to 2-4. It'll be interesting to see how Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin approach Josh Allen. The Ravens blitzed the heck out of him last week, and they did not have an answer for it. Steelers obviously haven't blitzed quite as much this year as seasons past, but it'll be interesting to see if they turn up the heat or if they want to continue with their four-man rush, because that's been most effective, and then just assuming that the Bills probably going to try to correct some of the issues they had against some of these cover zero blitzes that they saw last week. I think the Ravens ended last week by sending, I think, 3 straight cover zero blitzes, and they all were effective against Buffalo. So we'll kind of see what the approach is for Pittsburgh. But certainly getting after Josh Allen, getting him on the ground is going to be the key to success, as it is really any quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, look, I mean, you've had success all season just primarily with a four-man rush. I don't know why you would try to get away from that too much in this game. You know, I just can't see. I don't see where it benefits you to go zero blitz.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do zero blitz. I mean, that's not in their wheelhouse. But I'm just curious if they're gonna turn up the heat more. It maybe just be about sending 4 creatively inside linebackers, nickel corners, and just mixing it up a little bit more. I'm just spitballing. I'm just saying how the Ravens attacked Buffalo last week. I think generally speaking, you're gonna see the same defense and same approach in Pittsburgh, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if they do anything, it will probably be a little bit more creative with the 4. And obviously, occasionally you'll send the extra guy, a Hilton or somebody off to the edge.
I mean, the blitz rate isn't that low this year. It's like 30%, which is lower than last year, but it's not. Right. It's not 15%. I mean, they're still blitzing a healthy amount, but it's safe pressure. It's 4-man blitzes with an inside linebacker or a corner instead, and dropping somebody, or maybe the 5-man pressure occasionally. It's not like they're sending 7 guys every single time when they blitz. So I just want to be clear about that.
Right. And look, I mean, why wouldn't you want those 4 rushing that you have rushing?
Yeah, just top to bottom. I mean, Dupree, Watt, Hayward, Hargrave. Who do you want to double? Who do you want to single up? You got some bad options if you're an opposing offense.
Let's see. What else did Mike Tomlin have to say? He was asked about Bud Dupree and why is Bud Dupree having the career year that he has, and he pointed to evolution, and that's some kind of damn evolution, man. I'm trying to find the exact quote here for you.
I can get the quote. I'll pull it up. Yeah, evolution didn't really give me a whole lot of hope, but he just says, quote, Tomlin did, quote, I just think guys evolve, man. I think it's reasonable when a guy's in his mid-20s and he's healthy to play the best ball of his life. He has both youth and experience, and I think that's what you're looking in the form of Bud Dupree, but I think you're looking at, in any form of potential people that you could cite. So he's just saying, a guy that's, 26 years old, prime of his career, but he did mention, and I've harped on this a lot, healthy. And I think, honestly, health has been one of the biggest reasons why you've seen this evolution from Bud Dupree.
Yeah, that's, like I said, it's one hell of an evolution, though. I mean, you're going from your career high of with the time left here, he could still hit that 12 sack number. Obviously going to have to get on his horse here in the last couple of games, but I mean, for him to double his career high of 6 in one season, and we've talked about time again, he's showing us stuff that we really haven't seen out of him. There's been the occasional speed to power, but for the most part, I mean, he's getting it done in several different areas. Speed to power, up and under rips, bending the corners, getting the edge, spin inside. A lot of these things aren't being, you're not having to stun as much to work inside to get the sacks or whatnot. So just an incredible season for him, and that's some kind of evolution. I think that's the way I kind of ended that post I wrote up on him. Is that's some sort of evolving.
And it's not just the sacks, although he has a career high in that by far. He's got a career high in tackles right now, 55. He's actually got a career high in tackles for loss with 13. He's tied his career high in quarterback hits with 13, which he did last year. And of course, the dude still got 3 games left. So he's just shattering every number across the board. And I pointed this out every time we talk about it. I know you have too, Dave. His run defense is probably still better than his pass rush. I mean, this is one of the best outside linebackers in football at defending the run and setting a physical edge. He showed that again and against the Cardinals on Sunday. That's why they couldn't run the ball really at all. So I think it's just a complete package. It's a high volume of snaps. He's playing like the second most snaps of any edge rusher in football right now. It's the effort that he shows. It's the pass rush. It's the run defense. It's everything. I mean, and that's what makes him, I think, a really unique player. There's a lot of guys in football that can rush the passer. I mean, that's not that hard to find. You go from the college game, everyone throws the football. You need guys who can get after the quarterback, but it's really hard to find guys that can do it all 90% of the time. And Bud Dupree's been doing that all year long.
Yeah, I guess it's a good time to kind of segue into the. You got anything left over from Tomlin you want to hit, or?
No, just to circle back, Deontay Johnson, special teams player of the week. I know you mentioned it, but just to highlight that, kudos to him. And that was a heck of a return. I mean, the guy, because the Steelers had a heavy punt rush on that play. They were sending the house. They were trying to get after to block that thing. So there really wasn't any blocking. So Johnson basically had to make the entire Cardinals punt team miss, and he did.
Yeah, he did. And that's the first time since against the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football, back when first time a rookie Steelers player has had a punt return and a touchdown reception in the same game, back when Louis Lips, and I was able to compile a quick clip with that, with O.J. Simpson doing the color commentary.
Different times, I'll put it that way. All I'll say.
So yeah, look, we already talked earlier in the show about, nice to see him have the turnaround game, or really his best game of his career, after having easily his worst game of his career. Now, transition into what we've observed in the All-22, I think we start right there with talking about Bud Dupree that you just hit on there. Now, early on, that him stringing out that run and keeping that arm free on the outside on that design Murray run was just absolutely fantastic. And then at times this year, this defense has had problems with that outside zone, not just this year, in seasons past as well too. I thought they did a good job, especially at one point of that game on a toss to Dupree's side, trying to run that outside zone there. And really the whole thing, even though it's great flow, it's great technique, everybody's keeping square and staying in their gap there. Bud Dupree shocking that tight end back right at the snap, blowing him up and tossing him out of the club is what really gets that whole thing going, and forces that running back to make an early cut inside. And of course, TJ Watt's there on the backside to clean that up for a TFL, in a hurry here. I thought overall, look, that defense, I really thought they played well. Rushing coverage going hand in hand. Didn't let, even though Murray escaped a sack or two that they probably should have had on him, he didn't really kill him. I think you saw guys like even Terrell Edmonds. Look, one thing we talk about with Terrell Edmonds is he's not making those splash plays. However, you do see the athleticism at time in play with him, and it looked like his tackling's improved a little bit, being able to come up. I thought another thing that stuck out was the cornerback's ability to tackle. One thing I pointed out last night after going through the tape like a fifth time on that was right before the fake punt there, Alex, on a 2nd and 6. They converted that. Steven Nelson was playing off on that side. I think they they didn't do a good job, I guess, overall pre-snap of disguising it. Murray hits. I think it was Kirk it was Danny. It was what's his first name? Isabella.
Andy Isabella.
Hit him on kind of a quick square in there, and Steven Nelson tackles him for a gain of 5 yards. And remember, it's a 2nd and 6, so that's a successful play, but it didn't move the chains. Okay, so a good, solid tackle on that play left you some grass to defend on 3rd down. Well, what happens on 3rd down? You get them to blow up that run, and I think that was the one that Edmonds comes up and gets, I don't know, TFL for 5 or 7 or whatnot, and it sets up, you get off the field, or at least you think you're getting off the field. And
that was the fake punt.
Right, because that was the fake punt there on the 4th down there. So it's little things like that. I think you even hit on one tackle that Joe Hayden had made. One of a few. in that game there. So, and I think another key one was, obviously we talked about the red zone with Minkah Fitzpatrick, the play that he made where he broke down in space there and stymied Kyler Murray. And then one other kind of red zone play was that outside end around, I think, to jet sweep to Kirk, that Vince Williams, read that well. And not only Vince Williams shooting through trash on that one, you have Steven Nelson on the outside. It's got to take on one of those big uglies on the outside. And not only does it take it on to force that run inside, he slips under that and is in on the tackle. So I think it's just little things like that go way beyond the Russian coverage aspect that's really making this defense special, that sticks out on all 22.
Those are all fantastic points, Dave. I agree across the board. Stringing out their perimeter run game, I thought was critical. The play you're referring to about Joe Hayden, that was the 3rd and 9, I believe, where they threw a quick smoke screen to Christian Kirk, and Hayden made the wrap and roll tackle for a 7-yard gain, and that set up 4th and 2 that led to the TJ Watt interception. So making those critical stops. Yeah, I think overall, I mean, as much as we talk about the splash plays of, Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson being a great guy in coverage this year, he hasn't had the splash, but he's been very steady. I think the physicality, the toughness, the run defense those guys have shown, the tackling, down, game in, game out. You haven't had any really bad performances there. Maybe one from Nelson, the odd one this year, has been really underrated. You got to be able to tackle in space. Receivers are going to catch the football. That's just kind of life in the NFL today. But those guys are getting them on the ground. So yeah, I think that's a super underrated factor. So the football IQ and the tackling of those guys, Minkah with the read and react on the Kyler Murray read option, Joe Hayden being able to have in-game film study to pick off that pass. It's his first one, jumping that out route. These guys are the complete package, and it's really impressive to watch.
Yeah, and I think an important thing for us to do, and for everybody listening, when we get past this season and beyond, and we mentioned this several times, the important aspect of how rush and coverage have got to work together in this. Because, I mean, you've got some older older in Joe Hayden's case, not so much in Nelson, but you got some experienced corners that probably on islands, wouldn't survive in the NFL. But when you have that coverage aspect and you have the entire ball of wax, if you will, together there, it makes those guys that much better. And especially guys like Joe Hayden that have and Mike Tomlin hit on this when he talked to the media on Tuesday about the process, about how he has a process that he goes through to get himself ready for a game and all. And then you see the stuff like you pointed out on the Twitter machine with him seeing that red zone. Really, I mean, they didn't change too much about it. Shame on them, other than going the opposite direction, right?
Yeah, they didn't change anything.
Shame on, and that's one thing Cliff Kingsbury's going to have to change. And you can run the same play, you better just make it look a little bit different.
And just to explain what happened, because maybe some people didn't see the tweet or don't have Twitter, is that in the second quarter, the Cardinals had the ball at the Steelers' 11-yard line. They come out in 12 personnel but empty, so 5 wide spread out, and to the 2 receiver side where the running back's at is the slot receivers running an out route. And so Hayden jumped it, Murray didn't throw it, but you kind of fouled that one away. Then in the third quarter, they're in a similar situation, red zone fringe, come out in 12 personnel, empty, running back in the slot to the 2 receiver side. Guess what's coming? The out route, and Hayden jumped in and picked it off. So those are the things where those little clues from earlier in the game, you get a similar down distance line of scrimmage kind of thing, and certainly the same personnel grouping and formation. Those things tell you what's coming. That's what allowed Hayden to make that play.
And then you look at it on the other side of the Cardinals, they got to get on that sideline after that and say, you better be careful that guy jumping that out route, the next time, because it was there on tape for him. But, if you nonchalantly just go back through the play, go back through the playbook and think just because you flip in the field or you might change up a route, on the opposite side, or maybe just a little bit different formation there. Those certain teams aren't going to change their stripes too terribly much during a game.
Yeah, to their credit, they hit on the David Johnson touchdown. It was a similar look where they didn't have the out route by their running back, but they did have the same concept basically. Now that's a play that Edmonds needs to make. That's not on Hayden. Hayden's got the flat really regardless of what the route is. Edmonds was in position to make the play, but the Cardinals did adjust a little bit later in the game, so you did see a little cat and mouse game getting played throughout Sunday.
Right, and you're going to see that every week, or you should see that every week throughout the NFL, especially in second halves.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just to go back with Hayden again, the film study, the processing. I mean, just a super high IQ kind of guy, and he's having just an amazing season.
Kind of the negatives associated with the defense. I mean, I think you start with the Edmonds play on the touchdown. You got to take a better angle. You got to get there on that. At worst, you got to knock that down.
Yeah, got to make the play.
And what did you think about going back and watching that touchdown to the tight end again? Was there maybe a slight miscommunication between Barron and Hayden on that pre-snap?
Unless you're supposed to pass that off, then no. I just think they had a little bit of a pick and a bit of a rub in the red zone where there's a little margin of error for a defense, and Hayden's playing outside leverage, route comes across, and he's kind of screwed at that point. So I didn't see any miscommunication. I just thought just kind of an unfortunate spot to be in, and the Cardinals had a good scheme.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Obviously effective and effectively rubbed Hayden off on that.
Now on the Kirk 31-yard completion, I think Nelson again kind of got put in a bad spot because I think Minka screwed that one up. He was playing super shallow. He didn't really carry the route. I'm not 100% sure what happened on that play. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but I think Minka kind of didn't help out Nelson to the inside on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and I jumped around so much last night. I'm going to have to go back and look at that one again.
Okay. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that one. But overall, again, it's hard to knock this defense for the way they're playing. And again, that was a tough matchup against a Cardinals team that's going to throw just the whole kitchen sink at you, especially as a 3-8 team that just says, let's just try some stuff. They go out there using diamond personnel and 3 running backs on the field, and they're 10 personnel, and they're changing tempo, and they're at home. They're so at their place, which helps them out a little bit. A lot on the Steelers' plate, and I thought overall they defended it all reasonably well.
Yeah, I did as well. Just yet another reason to be excited about that defensive unit right now.
And how they defended the read option. And they used a lot of nickel blitzes from Mike Hilton to be able to force the give. And then when you have a good athlete like Hilton and a really good run stuffer and tackler, he's now able to tackle the backs. There was one play that I pointed out where he forced the give, Hilton did, to Kenyon Drake, and then circled back around and made the tackle for a 2-yard gain. So you put a good athlete in that position, outside linebacker or DN, not going to be able to have that change of direction to make that play, but a nickel corner is going to be able to, and certainly one that tackles as well as Mike Hilton.
Absolutely.
Anything from the offense, Dave, you want to go over? That's like Banner had his best game of the year. And we talk about all the fun stuff with Banner all the time, and that's all well and good. But I thought just from an on-field standpoint, his run blocking Sunday was excellent, and a big reason why they ran for $140.
Yeah, I looked at a lot of that. Pro Football Focus, however, had him ranked extremely low, man.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't like him running the routes. His route running probably got dinged. He ran 2 routes. I mean, it's getting kind of crazy at this point how often he's getting out in space.
But I mean, look, he on one of those runs, just a nice turn and kind of bury, if you will, over to the right side. He can definitely do some stuff out in space as well. So yeah, look, I mean, obviously not awful on that, but and I didn't spend a lot of time looking at him overall, not as much as you did, on the breakdown. But yeah, I thought he played well. I like the way. They used a little bit more motion in this game, pre-snap, with that, to start giving Devlin Hodges a few more keys, if you will, to look at there. I thought the running game, I liked a lot of elements related to the running game, except for obviously the fumble.
What'd you see on that play? I think there was some miscommunication with Vance and Vanette on that one.
Yeah, it got blown up. I mean,
why it got blown up?
Yeah, I haven't examined closely enough to see why.
Okay, I might have a post on that later because I think I saw some of the issue there because I think Vance thought that Jones was going to shoot the gap because that happened earlier in the game and he didn't, and so it just kind of got screwed up on that. But they adjusted, they kind of tweaked things later on in the second half.
Regardless, you've got to hold on to that football.
Yeah. No doubt about that. So that was the one blemish from Benny. Now, I still think Snell had a good game. Some people kind of dogged him. How do you think his vision is? I saw some people on Steelers people commenting they didn't like his vision and his run style. I think it's actually been really good this year, especially for a rookie.
Yeah, look, I like how he hits it, man.
Yeah, he gets downhill. He doesn't dance.
And you kind of you need that. I like that power element. I mean, with him. So no, I don't have an issue with him. I think I think his ball placement has been good that we've talked about, and yeah, look, I don't have any issue with him so far. I mean, other than him holding on to the football,
Right.
in situations such that I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I didn't either. To go back to the run game, how about them using some unbalanced formations with the Wildcat? They had Villanueva over on the right side, so adding a little bit of creativity, a couple of different wrinkles and layers to this run game.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. You got to keep mixing this stuff up. And the most important aspect is to keep this run success going, especially when you get into later on into the season here, and hopefully even into playoff time and all.
Anything else from the L-22 you saw offensively you wanted to make mention of?
Oh wow! Just continue to harp on the fact that the downfield blocking, especially on one of the Hodges scrambles. I thought Deion Kane. Look, I mean, hype. We talked about that back shoulder slot. Fade that they picked up 20-something yards on, going up and high pointing that ball. Where only he's going to make that play. I thought that was a huge aspect of that play. We hit on, I went back and slowed down and looked at the all-22 angle on that big play that Devlin Hodges made late in the game on the third down there. Yeah, kind of throwing across your body, yada yada, not ideal kind of circumstances there, but I thought he did a good job. You go with that frame by frame of squaring himself up as best as he can, and getting that done, and getting that ball down the field. I thought Deontay Johnson did a good job of working back to the football on that as well.
Yeah, I know Johnson talked about scramble drills and scramble rules, and that's seeing, a rookie that's been in the NFL for a little bit now and kind of understands that, okay, the play's been extended, let's go find grass and let's work back to my quarterback. So you're seeing the evolution of those little detail things from a rookie like Deontay Johnson that only made his really impressive performance, I think, all the more impressive.
Absolutely.
I think that was about it for me. I did point out the one RPO I mentioned on Monday's show about, I think the Duck missed it. He tried to throw this. I think there was miscommunication with him and Deontay Johnson, but I think either way he should have gave the ball to Kareth White, who could have run a long way. So RPOs, as much as we like them, they have a read element to it, and if you're wrong, then you're going to put yourself in a bad spot. So, there is a risk-reward with it. But again, Ducks played well. You're just looking for him. Missed a couple things on Sunday, which is natural for a rookie quarterback. But, just wanted to point that out, that the RPOs do have a downside to them too.
Yeah, and if you'll find another play too where where you have kind of two wide receiver screens set up in that RPO. It's kind of a rare, not oftentimes.
Which play?
I'm trying to remember the exact one, but there was another instance where, and I agree, it looks like Johnson didn't get the right route assignment on that, because especially where Devlin Hodges places the ball,
right,
throws the ball almost to a spot, almost like he was expecting kind of slant in that.
Yeah, Johnson should have run a slant because the corner's rolled up. You can't run a one-step screen against press coverage like that. But I still think Duck needs to hand that football off. Running the football was a better option than trying to throw it.
Yeah, I think that's debatable in there. But I mean, there was. I did like to see the RPO element. I'd like to see a little bit more of it. To be quite honest with you, moving forward there.
And the other one you're referring to, did that end in a positive play?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't have it noted here.
Okay, because I mean,
I just remember seeing. I think that was the power run. That was the guard pull. That was the DeCastro pull. So yeah, that was the 5-yard Biddy Snell run.
Okay, and what were you talking about with two receivers?
It looked like they were both. They looked like they were both ready for the wide receiver screen on each side, outside on that one. If you want to pull that one up.
Okay. I can pull it up. We've seen multiple options, especially in just a traditional screen game. You're seeing usually Haley did this well. I think Fichtner's carried the baton well of having multiple options and for the quarterback to pass to.
But look, I mean, overall, Mike Tomlin. Go back to what Mike Tomlin said several. We don't want him to kill us, and he has it right now, and he has shown some good elements in those 2-minute type situations there. Now, I know people want to continue to say, man, they got to let him throw. They got to let him throw down the field more and all. There's a right there's a right time and place for that, I think. I think you got to continue to lean more on the conservative side with him, but on the same aspect, I think you can start opening it up a little bit more. Now, is he going to be constantly a guy that probably, or is he going to develop into a guy that starts working the middle of the field past 7 yards past the line of scrimmage down the field more? Maybe not,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can start adding more and more layers to him and all, but you just be careful here, man, because, and I think that's the way that this coaching staff is going in with that aspect is, man, just don't do anything that kills us here in turning the football over. We've got a defense. We'll put together a good enough, if they score 19, we'll score 20. If they score 20, we'll score 21. It's just kind of got that feel to it. And if the running game continues to make progress, and look, that'll start getting a little bit more, I think, respect as well, right?
Sure.
With this running game, and if that running game starts forcing, a safety down low to kind of help with that moving forward, well, then you're going to have those guys on the outside give you some opportunities to win some one-on-one matchups, not only down the field on the outside, but on some quick slants and any other kind of man beaters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're showing confidence in Hodges. I think the way they've approached ending game situations the last 2 weeks, although I would personally disagree with it, wrote an article about it yesterday, shows that confidence, throwing the football, when most teams would just run the ball and try to chew clock, trusting Hodges to try to make a play to seal the deal instead of potentially putting your defense back out on the field. Now, again, they haven't worked, and I think they've been the wrong decisions given how good of a defense you have, but that does show confidence in Devlin Hodges.
Absolutely. I mean, look, He can manage this. I mean, call it whatever you want. I mean, there have been teams in the past that have won some Super Bowls, with kind of managing type situations on offense.
Do you think that can still be done today? Because I think about the 2000 Ravens and the Bucks back then, and in 2002, and even the Bears that went to Super Bowl against the Colts with Grossman at quarterback. Do you think that can still work today in an era where passing offense is so prolific?
Alex, I say time and time again, when teams get into the playoffs, they're going to generally, at least one time during the playoffs, they've got to have the other unit. The lesser of two units get the job done. So,
do you think the Steelers are capable of having a game like that?
I don't know. I don't know yet. Ask me in a couple more weeks.
I think they're capable of it. Will it happen? That's who's to say? But I think if they continue to be on this path they're on and get JuJu and Connor back and get a couple weeks with those guys before the playoffs begin, then I think they could have a game where they could put up 24 points, 27 points on offense.
I think that their offensive eligibles are on the incline at the right time now. They are peaking right now. And if you get a 100% JuJu back, Washington's kind of in his stride right now. We hope Deontay stays kind of in the pocket where he's at right now as well. And then, of course, the more in-game experience that you give, or in-helmet experience that you get Devlin Hodges, you would think that you're going to be able to do more things with him. Look, I pointed out the other day there was 4 impressive throws in that game, and we're talking about a quarterback didn't throw the ball a lot in that game.
Yep, just 19 times.
Against the Cardinals. So now obviously, and we also talked about can this kid make a play outside the pocket? Okay, can he give us one of those? Off schedule. Kind of plays. And he did. Okay. Now, obviously, you don't want to get in a situation where he's having to make 5 or 6 of those a game. But, I mean, who knows when you get into playoffs and you face a little bit better defensive team. Mm-hmm. I do think that if this team gets in, there's going to be at least one game where, that defense of theirs gives up maybe 23, 24, 25 points or whatever, and that offense is going to have to score some points. And whether or not they can, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know,
Hopefully they're playing enough games to get to that point. Hopefully it's not a one and done kind of thing.
Look, I think this is and people are starting to write this now, tweet this out and talk about this. And I've kind of had it out there for a couple weeks now. This is a defense right now that I don't think anybody wants to play, especially in a wild card round.
No, I mean it's top three defense in football, and I think you could make an argument that it is maybe the best defense in football. I think people will talk about 49ers, certainly the Patriots, maybe Buffalo too, but no worse than three. I think if you had to rank where this defense is at for the offense, I mean here's what it comes down to. I think there's two real big factors, maybe three, I'll say. No turnovers, obvious, but the way this team is constructed, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, it's based on not turning the football over, keeping the score down, and your defense can defend long fields. Two, the big play, just getting enough splash plays when this offense has worked and been better. In some other games, they've really done that off of the big play. And then three, situational football. They're 25th in third down offense. They are dead last in red zone offense. If this offense wants to produce points and wants to start hitting their stride and being in a good place by the time playoffs roll around, they got to be better on situational football. Again, they're 34% third down, 34% red zone. Those numbers are not good enough for a team that wants to make a deep playoff run.
And obviously, we don't expect this team, if they do make the playoffs, to have any home games. Okay,
right.
So you're going to have to be road warriors, and hopefully, I think the worse the elements, maybe the better. For this team offensively, especially if they can continue this trend of successful running. I think a power running team, even in today's game, in the playoffs, in bad weather situations, I think can help hide a non-franchise quarterback, if you will.
Yeah, and to face this defense in a snowy, rainy, windy kind of day, I hate to be that quarterback on that particular Sunday.
Absolutely, especially with that pass rush, man. You're looking at turnover city. So, and that's another element. How good of offense can the Steelers defense play in the playoffs, if that makes any sense? Can you give that offense a couple of short fields?
Right.
Can we see this return team maybe, return element maybe provide a play? You're going to have to get it from all areas without a doubt.
Sure.
Can you just go into the playoffs and expect this defense to record, 5 sacks, 3 turnovers, and all like that? No. And we've already had to answer the question a couple of times. What happens in a game if this defense does not provide you with a short field via turnover or put points on the board or what have you? If they do get into the playoffs, I can almost guarantee you there will be at least one game like that.
Yeah, and what happened this year was the Cleveland game where, your defense kept you in, it kept the score down, but they couldn't produce a turnover, and your offense turned it over 4 times. And that's why you couldn't do anything. That's how you lose 21-7 to a Browns team you should have beat. It's not a coincidence that the 2 times this year the Steelers defense hasn't recorded a turnover. They've both been pretty convincing losses against New England week 1 and then against Cleveland in week 11. So that's got to be the mantra for defensively. But again, offensively, you want to talk about, what's going to define this offense and their potential and ability to put up points. It's third down at the red zone because those numbers got to pick up.
I think we've reached a point now where it's okay to be extremely disappointed if this team doesn't make the playoffs. And then moving past there, I need to see a little bit more maybe from the offense, but I'm almost to the point where I think I'm going to be disappointed if this team doesn't win at least one playoff game.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm probably with you, but I know how crucial this Buffalo game is, and if you don't win it, it's going to get dicey because Tennessee's hot right now. I forget. I think some people have tweeted at me about scenarios about what happens if Pittsburgh loses this weekend, and kind of how they're going to need some help to get in. So this Buffalo game is really going to shape that true playoff course.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you want any kind of a chance of a week 17 bye, if you will, you gotta win. You gotta win Sunday night. So,
I think I saw the stat that. Sorry to interrupt, but I think I saw the stat that if the Steelers win, they have like a 79% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose this weekend, it drops to something like 30%. So this game is really crucial.
Right. Now, if you win your next 2, and Baltimore, you could get into the. It would really be intriguing to see a week 17 game that's has between the Steelers and the Ravens that has no significance to either team.
Hmm. Well,
When's the last time we've never seen that, I don't think.
I guess if you played some Browns teams week 17 where it didn't mean anything for Cleveland or Pittsburgh, but point taken. But again, I mean, I'm just focused on Buffalo because if you don't win this weekend, then you could forget about the scenarios of what week 17 might not matter to either team.
Right, and it's okay for us to kind of talk about, what if, but obviously Mike Tomlin, at least the message he's given the last, 3 or 4 weeks, been a very consistent one about just trying to get out of the stadium with the next win, and that's all that matters right now is Sunday night against the Bills, and
Yep.
it should be a great game. I'm just starting to dive into some of their tape, moving out of the game against the Cardinals and all. So it ought to make for a entertaining show on Friday.
And all the cool storylines with that game too. Sean McDermott, Mike Tomlin, teammates at William and Mary, coaching against each other. The Edmonds trio of brothers. That'll be a lot of fun to watch that game and all the storylines that come with it.
Absolutely, that pregame ought to be pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if they get some good interviews pregame. I'm sure Sunday Night Football, Fred Gaudelli and the group do an awesome job. So any other thoughts from Sunday's game, Dave, or do you want to kind of start wrapping this thing up, get to some reader emails?
Yeah, I can't think of too much more. Obviously we'll continue to finish out the all 22 probably today on the Cardinals, and anything left over we'll talk on Friday about that. We hope to have a beat writer on as usual on Friday to help preview the game. So with that, I guess we can get maybe into a few of these emails. How about that?
Yeah, well, one other note really quickly. I just remembered this one. Robert Spillane, I love my special teams guys. He's only played 5 games this year. He's 11th on the team in special team snaps. He's 3rd on the Steelers in special teams tackles, 2nd in solo stops, only behind Dirty Red. And across the entire NFL in special teams total tackles, he's ace. Like, this guy is just tackling everything. So kudos to Robert Spillane for making an impact on special teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Your new Dirty Red maybe moving forward if you can't. And look, you would think that they let Fort get away. They're going to let Tyler Matakevich get away. But even if they do, you can never have too many of those guys.
Yeah, just been super impressed by the job he's done. The next man up mentality applies to everyone. It applies to the quarterbacks, but it also applies to whoever's running L3 on kickoff, since Spillane's doing a good job there.
All right, shall we get to the email machine? I'm not sure we got any dating.
That's all right. I think we'll be okay.
I think a lot of people got a kick out of that, even though you didn't.
I didn't.
What's that?
It made me blush a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know there's an actual match there. I didn't hear back.
Prerequisite is she's got to know cover 3, the difference between cover 3 and cover 1, right?
Otherwise, swipe right.
Kind of hold the pig situation. I'm not going to go there.
All right, I don't know where you're going.
That's over your head there.
I don't know. Reader emails. How about the reader emails?
Yeah. Hey guys. I want to say it, but I won't. Okay. Hey, guys, I'm Tony from Virginia. It appears the best way to attack the Bills' defense is running the ball. If Connor is healthy enough to play this week, the Steelers dress 5 running backs. How would you distribute the touches among the backs? I think Connor steps right back into the bell cow, but it wouldn't be surprising to limit his touches this week. I would love to see White get about 10 touches this game. Has some top-notch speed, and his hands seem to be decent as well. How should the Steelers incorporate White more into the offense? Thanks for everything, guys, and have a Merry Christmas. I don't think you do anything, as we kind of talked, Tony, earlier in the show. I don't think you do too terribly much different there. I understand the excitement about White, but I think 5 to kind of 6 touches is the most for him. And he caught a bad ball the other day and did something with it, so kudos to him. But I don't think he's a guy that right now, like Mike Tomlin kind of alluded at, that you want out there in passing situations where you have to find out whether or not he knows what's going on in pass pro in a meaningful situation there. So I think the only thing maybe that you do different here with Connor back is maybe it eats into a guy like Jaylen Samuels' touches overall. And maybe 1 or 2 of Benny Snell's touches there. And heck, we don't even know if Jaylen Samuels is going to play in this game yet there. So I don't think really you do too much terribly different as far as, giving a guy like White more touches along those lines.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I wouldn't refer to Connor's return as a bell cow kind of role. I'd be surprised if they went to that, especially in his first game back. I think when you've talked about it earlier, the depth of this running back group and the fact that you want to make sure Connor stays healthy and is available to you for a potential Week 17 game, playoff run, all that stuff. You don't want to, there's no need to give him 25 carries and 90% of the snaps like you might have last year. So I don't know exactly how it's going to go. It'll be interesting. There's a conditioning factor for Connor too, missing several weeks, barely playing basically since the Miami game. Cup of coffee against Cleveland before bowing out. So he might be not all there from a conditioning readiness standpoint as well. But Connor would probably get the start and maybe even get 50-50 split with Snell and carries, but he's not going to be the bell cow.
Yeah, I don't think so. As far as them against the run, pull up something real quick.
Buffalo?
Yeah.
I think they're actually like 21st in yards per carry allowed, but I don't know, man. I still think it's a really good team across the board.
Let's see here. Offensively, with them passing, defensively against the run, they can, just from a statistical and successful run standpoint, especially both guards, they are 32nd against the run in average yards. I'll put you here. Here they are by direction. We'll start at left end and go the other direction there. So left end, they've allowed 4.73 yards per carry, which is 10th, ranked 10th in the league. 5.97 yards per carry on runs to left tackle, which is 28th in the league. 5.19 yards per carry on runs off of left guard, 27th in the league. A little bit better on runs up the middle. They're 10th overall. And then you get to get going the other way. The further you get it from guard and out and on runs to right end, they are last in the league, 8.5 yards per carry. So this is going to be a game that really sets up if the Steelers can run the football and establish that run early. Probably going to see the guard on the move a little bit more on this one again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so they're bad at runs to their right, the offense is left.
They are bad on runs, to the offense's left.
Right. So we're going to see DeCastro pulling, I think, a little bit of power against Buffalo. I think they ran power against Buffalo a couple of years ago. Different coaching staff, personnel, and all that. But 66 can be pulling a lot Sunday night.
Most definitely. And you want to, hopefully you get in a situation where you can establish that run early and run it successful so you can run it successful late. Frank Neri writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, sending my regards all the way from Melbourne, Australia, Jordan Berry country. I have been following your podcast for the past 4 years and love everything from the statistical analysis of our Steelers to Alex's on-site training camp reports. P.S. I'm happy I have not heard too many stories from as the Steelers turn. Boy, we haven't had a lot of those episodes or any.
Yeah, quiet season.
In 2018, there was way too much drama. My question is, T.J. Watt continues to produce sacks, forced fumbles, and interceptions as he has so far this year. What sort of contract should the Steelers be looking at offering once his 4-year rookie contract expires in 2021? First of all, and he goes on to write, if Bud Dupree walks as a free agent, again, I would suggest that they would throw everything in the kitchen sink to keep T.J. Watt, ? Would love your thoughts. Thanks for wonderful coverage. Here's the thing. Don't forget that if you need it, and you probably aren't going to, probably going to need it by then, is you got a fifth year option in play when it comes to TJ Watt. However, the sooner he wants to do that deal, which it'll probably be, he might want to be the highest paid player in the league.
I mean, he's getting $20 million is like the floor. I mean, he's going to be right up there with Khalil Mack kind of money, right?
Or more. He might be the new highest paid player,
and that could happen as early as this
offseason. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And if you're Pittsburgh, as you said, probably the sooner the better, because he's not going to get cheaper the longer you wait to do this deal.
Right, and you might as well take advantage of some of that. Who knows? You get it done now. Maybe there's another one. Maybe you're setting yourself up for another contract down the line.
Yeah,
with him. The meter's running, and the meter does not. The price of the taxi cab rides don't go down.
So if you had to put a number, just ballparking it for average yearly value, 21, 22 million, or am I being too conservative in that?
Oh, let's.
Just if you had to throw out, I won't hold you to, but just to kind of give a little bit of a baseline here.
Well, who's the highest paid defensive player?
I think it's at like 22.5. I think 20 something.
23.5 for him.
Okay. So you think it's higher? You'd be higher than that?
Yeah, I think you're looking at 25 million, Alex.
25. All right. Wow.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
No, I get it. It's just a lot of money. I mean, I'm paying DJ Watt whatever he wants. I mean, it's a blank check kind of guy. But yeah, let your kids be pass rushers or pitchers for the Yankees. That's my mantra.
And tie their right hand behind their back.
Yeah, right. Throw lefty. Well, Garrett Cole throws right, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's true. He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just got, what was it, 9 years, 300 and, God, what did he get, 324? I don't know what the number was, but it's just something absurd.
If they can't do any of that, at least teach them how to kick a football or long snap. You know?
Yeah, bingo. Well, Cameron Kennedy's not getting paid that kind of money.
Yeah, but he has work, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So the whole thing is get yourself where you can work and earn that kind of even his minimum salary. I think he can buy a couple bags of chips with that.
Fair point.
Khalil Mack, $23.5 million. I can't see where you don't start with $25 million with Watt.
Oh, wow. So you're looking at what, a 5-year, $25 million?
Well, I think you would go 6.
You would go 6.
I think
even though the signing bonus can't get spread out over.
Well, what I'm talking about is extension and all. Extension and all. You want to try to string it out as long as you can, so when there's a restructure in there, you have some years. But regardless, an average yearly value of $25 million, I think, is starting point with that. So, I mean, you're looking at first year take home with him, whatever year. We have to look at old money. I mean, obviously, he wouldn't have a lot of old money left based on rookie contract and all. I'm thinking his take home in whatever first year, let's say you get it done next year, $37 million.
In the first year?
Yeah, with signing bonus and everything.
Wow. All right. Yeah, it's gonna be expensive.
Because you gotta figure you gotta give him that yearly average, which is 25, 26 million.
There's no way to keep that first year salary kind of down like they like to do. Is it just too hard to do when you're talking that kind of money?
Yeah, you want to incentive. You want to have the incentive for him to sign the deal, and then you got to have the cash flow equal out as well too. So.
Okay.
You're looking at a cash flow after the first 2 years of 50. Let's say it's a $25 million yearly average. You're probably talking about a cash flow in the first 2 years of the deal of being 56, 57 million.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
So you'd have to almost give them 38 million take home in year round. Now, people save this, so when I'm right, I get damn credit for it for my numbers being on. But realistically, I think that's what you're looking at, Alex.
All right, yeah, no, I believe it, and again, he's worth it.
And that you go back to the thing too. How do you get both? How do you get both Watt and Dupree done?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of cash.
Yeah, I mean. Sure. How much would be tied up in Dupree and Watt alone at those numbers? Yeah,
because look, Watt Dupree, the floor to me at least starts at 18 million per, and that's a bargain on a long-term deal, I think, with him right now.
A fifth of your cap tied up in those two guys.
I mean, realistically, you can make an argument that Dupree's value right now is 20 million per, right?
Yeah, I mean, on an open market with competition, yeah, you could argue that.
And then you get into the whole, can they franchise him? What if he don't want to sign the tag at 16 point, whatever?
Let's not go down that road. Let's not have a Bell 2.0 kind of deal. All right, yeah, fair point, though. It's going to be expensive. Anyone who doesn't think those guys are going to be cheap, I mean, you're just fooling yourself. They're going to cost a ton.
All right, hello from Abu Dhabi. Hi, boy, we got listeners all over the world. We're very popular in Abu Dhabi, it appears. Hi, gentlemen, great show. I get all my Steeler news and updates in the Middle East from the Terrible Podcast, the only podcast I trust for objective news. I have 3 short questions and 1 comment. Any chance the Steelers take Ron Rivera next year for the defensive coordinator position? Steelers have showed past interest in him. They interviewed him in 2007 for the head coach job. When a stacked defense, he might be willing to take it if offered. I think Ron Rivera's going to end up head coach somewhere, to be honest with you.
You do?
Yeah, I think he turns around and gets a job. Maybe Washington.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he's not going to be the DC in Pittsburgh. They're going to bring Keith Butler back just based on the play of the defense this year. They're not going to change things too much. So I very, very doubtful that scenario is going to play out.
Number 2, how would you suggest getting the tight ends more involved in the passing game? They appear virtually non-existent since Ben isn't playing. More RPOs and try to get one up the seam.
Yeah,
some mesh.
They don't do as many tight end screens as they have in the past, but at this point, it's like, is it even worth it? Because Vanette's not offering you much. McDonald has struggled. Obviously, he's concussed right now, so I think the focus is really less on getting the tight ends the ball and getting your receivers the ball, the young guys that are playing so well. So my focus is just getting guys the ball that can do something with it and guys that are producing currently. So honestly, my focus is less on how do we get Nick Vanette the ball and more on how do we get James Washington the ball, how do we get Deontay Johnson the ball, how do we get Deon Cain more involved. I think those are the more important and relevant questions.
Number 3, how's the contract negotiations going with Alex and Alexandra?
Stalls, I think.
Did she get a rose yet? I would love to see a YouTube broadcast if you guys meet up in Canton this year. We'll see. You know, maybe if there's a lockout or something too. Obviously, we won't root for that, but who knows? Maybe we can get all the guys. I'll fly all the guys to Canton or something like that. You guys keep up the superb work, Jason in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for the email, Jason. Let's see here. Austin Stinger. I have a feeling which way this one's going. Hey, Dave and Alex, long-time listener, and the content you guys make is truly top-notch. Thank you guys so much for what you do. The season is thrillingly surprising for the Steelers, and it's very fun to see. However, there is one thing that I have a hard time reconciling. I don't understand if it's all about the defensive play or what, but when you have a team with this level of talent, especially on offense, usually you would point to the coaching as an exceptional job leading to an 8-5 season and overperforming the talent level. We discussed Mike Tomlin being the Coach of the Year candidate, and that's very fun. But what I'm having trouble with is the obvious coaching mistakes that we see on a weekly basis. We see the second and long runs, the questionable clock management mistakes over the last few weeks, and a litany of other mistakes we often talk about. Do we have the coaching staff under such a microscope that we recognize almost every mistake leading to the feeling of poor coaching, or are these mistakes uncharacteristic, or what we would call a well-coached team? As a high school coach myself, I tend to believe it is largely on the shoulders of an incredible defense, both making up for lackluster offense and generally decent but not great coaching performance. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. As always, thank you for what you do. This seems to be kind of wanting to go along the lines of, I wasn't a big Mike Tomlin fan, but now that he's done a lot with what he's done with, how can we start poking holes in him being coach of the year? That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that those things are valid criticisms. I mean, you can still be critical of Tomlin for the, very in-game minutia kind of stuff about a particular decision or challenge or clock management, and still believe that overall he's done a good job. You can have some small picture issues and some big picture, still praise of it. I think what he mentioned initially was that if you look at any team in football, if we were Buffalo Bills fans, we were watching the Bills every single week, for years now, you could pick up on those in-game things that from a casual fan, just watching the overall team, you're not going to notice. So I think that's probably just common with any team. If you watch them enough and coaches get good enough chances, they're going to naturally make a couple mistakes because that's just how the game works. So I think we have a more critical guy because we're watching this team closely in every single move that they make, and we're judging it off of that. But I just think overall, you look at this team, they're 1-4, down and out. They shouldn't be here right now. And yes, that's on the backs of a good defense. But Tomlin's a defensive guy. He's players have credited the job he's done in preparing them. He should at least be in the conversation, because how many other teams are going to go from 1-4 with a rookie quarterback and then Mason Rudolph, a second-year guy, making his first starts and are now controlling their own destiny? I mean, it's very, very few.
Type in clock management and Sean into the Twitter machine.
Yeah, I bet it'll come up. I mean, I go on Twitter sometimes, on a Monday night game or something, like on Monday against the Eagles-Giants game. I type in Doug Peterson when the Eagles were down just to see the reaction. And, it's fire and he sucks and all that. Then they win. Everyone goes, oh, okay, Peterson's all right. I mean, so you get that reaction from many. I mean, I've even seen it towards Belichick before, in the Patriots. So I think it's just a thing when you're a fan of that team, you're always going to have the most critical guy because you're the one watching every single move they make. Whereas if you're watching another team, you're just looking at the big picture. Did they win? What's their record? Oh, they're doing a pretty good job.
That was garbage clock management by Schumer. They're about to choke this overtime, too. That was very insightful right there. Sean McDermott inexplicably doesn't understand the most basic aspects of clock management. Hashtag Bills. Zim needs to hire a clock management coach without a doubt. Deuce McAllister does color commentary for the Saints, and Sean Payton's clock management just now almost killed him. There goes Sean Clock Management McDermott again. This one from Buffalo News Sports. Sean McDermott's clock management comes under fire after loss to Browns. This one from Jeff Duncan, who's actually writes for The Athletic. Ridiculously poor clock management there by the Rams. Clearly the Saints' explosive offense was on Sean McVay's mind. You getting the picture here?
Yeah, in a game with Andy Reid, Bill Belichick looks terrible with clock management. Belichick looking terrible with clock management and fourth down 2-point tries. I mean, yeah, you can pull it up for any coach and you're going to get results.
Here's even another from Darren Grant, longtime sports writer who now writes for Pro Football Talk. Sean McDermott attended, this was from back in 2017, attended the Andy Reid School of Clock Management and also William and Mary. Look, what was his name? Who sent us the email? Let me jump back here. Austin, look. Alex and I are not afraid to point out, bad things, that this team does. Okay.
I'm still mad about that Colts challenge. I'm never going to be unmad about that.
There you go. Things such as that. These guys, you can watch any NFL game and take issue with probably 3 or 4, 5 decisions, play calls, whether it be play calls, clock management, what have you, challenges, what have you. Every game, okay? You got to look at kind of the big picture here with this thing. Mike Tomlin's going to look. He at least he's got a guy up in the booth now and try to help him with some challenges now. But is Mike Tomlin ever going to be a who's the guy Peterson with the has the win probability on every play yelled in his ear? Is Mike Tomlin ever going to be that guy? No. Is Mike Tomlin going to be a fly by the gut, gut feeling type coach? Probably. Fact of the matter is, and I've screamed this for a while for the fire Mike Tomlin crowd. I'm not seeing it. I think Mike Tomlin's too good of a coach to can him, and I think this year is a testament to how good of a coach he is.
Well said. And my only other thought would be, if the bar is so high that anyone who has some clock management issues over the course of a season or some questionable play calls over the course of a 16-game season, if that coach is disqualified from being head coach of the year, then who are you giving the award to? Show me the coach who's perfect or even close to perfect. You're not going to find him.
And the whole second and long run thing. Look, that's a math. Mostly a math-based criticism on my end, okay?
It's still a valid criticism.
Sure, it's a valid criticism. But on top of it, I am more tolerable of it right now with this, understandable, I guess, is with the situation they are with this fragile offense. And I don't like it. But I understand. I can swallow the medicine a little bit more easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this has been, and I've been critical of Fichtner, but and I was thinking about this the other day. This has been a very tough year for any offensive coordinator to try to just make all this work on the fly with different quarterbacks, different running backs, different receivers. I mean, it's just been a revolving door of new faces, and Randy Fichtner's trying to piece this together and try to find some semblance of continuity and consistency with this group. And it's been fleeting, and he's had issues, and I'll be the first to point that out. But that has been that's about as tough of a situation as an offensive coordinator can be in. And so I just want to at least be sympathetic to some degree of that in the situation that Fichtner's in.
Yeah, I think people just think, okay, bring in your third string quarterback and a couple guys off the practice squad and go grab these couple of jokers off of the practice squad of other teams and, man, just run it. Go.
Right. No, obviously not. Yeah, it's not how it works. I mean, you got to find out what these guys like, how they learn, what they like best, what they're capable of doing.
Timing, man. Yeah, timing and working and practicing together.
Because you don't get to practice that much. You don't get to do pads either. I mean, Gareth White hasn't been pads in practice, not been in camp. So I mean, you're just trying to piece this together on the fly. And okay, you try this in game, it doesn't work. Okay, well now we know that doesn't work. It looks bad, but now we adjust. So again, criticism of Fichtner exists and criticism of Tomlin exists, but the situation they've been in is a very difficult one.
It's okay to call into question, some play calls. I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, and clock management at the end of that game. Where they could have milked off another 45 seconds of that game clock. I mean, look, if they had lost that game, we'd still be talking about that.
Right. I read about
right now.
I read about it being critical of Tomlin yesterday about that those end game decisions.
And results bias shouldn't really change that, but there are other aspects that we have to focus on. However, if they did lose that game, we would be mostly dominated talking about, oh man, I can't believe the way they left that extra 45 seconds on that clock. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they make mistakes, and we're going to continue to point them out. But at the same aspect, I don't think because of that, you look past the bigger picture of what this team has done this year and how Mike Tomlin should be a Coach of the Year candidate. Plain and simple. That's it. End of story.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well said, Dave.
Look, if we think somebody needs to be fired at any point, I think Alex wrote about Keith Butler last year.
Mm-hmm. I did.
Where are you now at Keith Butler?
Well, I think, obviously they infuse so much talent in this defense, and you get to a point where you just have so much talent it overcomes really regardless of what your DC is doing. I think Butler's done a nice job this year, and I don't want to not give him any credit to this, and I recognize he's probably going to come back and get a new contract because of the way this defense has played. But I think anytime you give a DC 10 first-round picks and all the talent they've invested in, your defense better play well.
Yeah, and I think that's part of going back to what Austin wrote here on coaching as well, too. Is it, how much is the chicken and how much is it the egg, know?
I mean, is it a bad idea for a coach to say, let's just bring in a bunch of talent and make us look good? I mean, I'll take that approach.
Yeah, and look, you could say, man, just stay out of their damn way.
Right, and Tomlin's basically said that sometimes, yeah, it made me look good, but the guys made the play.
But, to some degree, look, one of the things that we hit on going into this season before the whole, Roethlisberger and stuff, and before the Patriots games, look, we expected this defense to be better this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, then you go out and get crushed by New England. And then you had what happened in Seattle, and then you kind of saying, okay, maybe this isn't going to be as good as what maybe we thought, or maybe was it the competition that they played, or maybe just early season. And then you'll add a guy like Minka. Just adding Minka alone didn't do this, but it sure as hell didn't hurt.
No, could you imagine this team had to go through a year starting Cam Kelly at free safety? How much different they'd look? How much different your calls would have to be?
Right. You'd have to, yeah. It would be different. So, I mean, do sometimes the coaching get too much credit? Probably, but there is also times where coaching gets too much blame.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, the idea of let's bring in a bunch of talent and just have really good players go out there and make plays, and as you said, Dave, kind of not get in their way. It's not a bad approach to have in the NFL. You don't have to overthink every single aspect of the game.
And right now, it almost feels like that defense is that. Damn, just none of you guys get hurt, please.
Yeah.
Did you see, speaking of almost getting hurt, did you see Bush go flying into the legs of Minka on one of those, I think it was it a run over to the right side? over there. That should stick out like a sore thumb on the end zone view there. I thought, oh my God, you got them two guys crashing in, and he takes Minka's legs out from underneath him, and Minka lands on top of him. See if you can find that. I think it's second half.
Okay.
And all, but holding your breath on that for sure. Look, injuries are going to happen, man. We saw it happen with Stephon Tuitt, and can you imagine if this team had Stephon Tuitt right now?
Right. Oh, man, I really wish they did. I feel for the guy who's having – again, he was their best defensive player before he got hurt. And so I could only imagine what kind of defense this team would have right now.
But within all that, boy, Tyson Alulu, he's on a career year, if you ask me.
It's up there. It's as best as a Steeler, at least by far. And Hargrave's playing well, and they're doing a good job adjusting because they're doing a lot of the 1-4-6 and the 1-5-5, where they just have one defensive lineman, and usually it's Cam, and letting their inside linebackers play some more, finding ways to get those guys all on the field together and being able to mask some of the depth issues that they might have with the loss of Tuitt. So I think just they're adjusting schematically, and then the individual guys are stepping up and playing really, really well.
Okay, this one from Nick Napak. Dave and Alex, looking at the Bills, obviously their defense is strong. What area should the Steelers offense aim to attack Sunday night? Nick, I think we already kind of hit a little bit on that. Boy, if you can run that power against that front to the left side, mix in Connor and White and Snell, and kind of work on that controlled passing game, if you will. I think that's a recipe right there. I shudder to think what might happen if they can't run the football early.
Yeah, I think it's the run game. I'll probably have a better answer for you on Friday because I haven't gotten into any really Buffalo Bills tape. That's usually I start that Wednesday evening. But we'll talk about it more on Friday's show.
Let's see. He says, I also just ordered up some goodies popcorn for Christmas gifts and to have around the house. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, old Dave's a good guy there. Appreciate everybody who's ordered from Dave and goodies popcorn so far. Let's see here. Nick Aldridge said, hi, guys. Firstly, I want to thank you guys for all the work you do. I've been listening for years. Secondly, I want to talk about the fake punt the Steelers ran against the Cardinals. Based on listening to Tomlin and others, my understanding was slightly different than yours. I understood it as them seeing a certain look in film study and telling the punting unit before the game even started, probably during practice, that if they saw that look during the game to do a fake punt. So in actuality, Tomlin and Danny Smith didn't tell them during the game to do it. The punting unit got the look they discussed in practice, and so they were going to run the fake punt, which was an automatic play call based on the look. This also explains why they decided to call it off. Tomlin decided based on game flow and them being ahead 10 points that it wouldn't make sense to run, so he called it off. This makes the most sense to me why it happened and why it was called off. Let me know if you guys agree or not. Okay, first of all, I don't think Mike Tomlin was the one that called that off from the sideline. I think either Jordan Dangerfield or somebody else maybe on the field called that out, and the communication didn't get to Jordan Berry. On the flip side, okay, if it was a look-based thing, all right, we get into the game, we get certain, between the 40s, you get a certain look here, we're going to run this kind of thing. You can always call it off way ahead of time. Look, the game's going in our favor here. Our defense is going well. That whole look thing, throw it out.
Yeah, no, you're not literally going into it on the sideline before that play, Tomlin, saying, let's run a fake. I mean, that's not how it works. I mean, you listen to players discuss fakes, and it's always pre-planned based on if you get the right look. Remember the Pat McAfee story about Troy Polamalu and all that? Right. That was all based on that they win that game saying, okay, if we get the ball inside the 7-yard line on the left hash or whatever, this is look we're going to get. We're going to run the fake. So it's always a pre-planned kind of thing. Now, how does that get called off? Usually I think that is probably player-based. I'm looking at the play right now. I'm just trying to think about what signal could have been given because it can't be a verbal cue. There's just no way they could give a verbal cue on the road especially, but for any situation to call that fake. So yeah, I agree. Whenever I say that Tomlin called it or Danny Smith called it, I don't mean they literally called it in that moment, but they're giving the green light to run a fake sometime during the week and in the game. So I mean, that explanation does, I think, make a reasonable amount of sense. I would just love to know how it got called off or who was supposed to do that and the mechanisms, I guess, of that process.
The way that game flow was going, though, I think I would have pulled everybody aside and said, "Look, let's table that right now."
Yeah, right.
Especially and look at the down and distance. What was it? Fourth and what did we determine it was? Fourth and
6.
six.
Yeah.
So and how far back is? I mean, that's a long.
It's
You
got to
got
run
to
like 20 yards.
you got to shorten up the for crazy legs Barry.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to for OJ Barry, you got to shorten up that distance some.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just at least we can laugh about it now. Thank goodness. And then for the Cardinals fake, again they read it well, and they were tipped off because the up back on that team, he was lined up to the opposite side that he usually lines up on. And if you look at him on the snap, he's looking at the long snapper the entire time. So I think they sensed it. I mean, Medikevich and Spillane and even Cam Kelly, they saw it right away. You just got to make that play. I mean, they were in position to get that guy on the ground short of the sticks, and that was really disappointing.
All right, Adam Bendis writes in. Adam, let's see. In the last episode, Dave was talking about how statistics should track interception assist. If that is done, should the stat also then include plays where any defensive player tips the ball into the air in such a way for it to allow? Yeah, I mean, for an interception, regardless of outcome. Wait a minute. Right. Let me read that again. If that is done, should the stat also then include plays where any defensive player tips the ball into the air in such a way as to allow for an interception, regardless of outcome? Look, as far as that goes, I think you should have passes defensed, and then obviously tipped. Should be and look, interceptable passes on a quarterback, whether they're intercepted or not, I think should be a stat. He goes on to say the reason why I'm asking is I would include the one play in the second Browns game where the ball went up in the air, but Jarvis Landry managed to get it. Forgive me if I'm misremembering the play. No, I think you got it right, but my perspective, the player causing that ball to go up in the air deserves credit as if it were an interception. Yeah, there ought to be some sort of official tip stat. I think, Adam, I would have no issue with that. Now, granted, I think you could get yourself where you have, like our charting. Sometimes I try to get our charting to go further and further every year, where you have too many things that you track. But I don't think you could ever. Can you have too many things?
Well, maybe not. It just depends how you do it. I know for our defensive charting, when a player tips a pass and someone else picks it, the guy that tipped the pass, to me, gets credit for the interception. I put him down for the target because he was the player targeted. So, for example, on Cam Kelly's interception this year against who did he pick that off against? 49ers? Chargers? It doesn't matter. On Cam Kelly's interception this year, Minkah Fitzpatrick tipped the pass. So Minkah got credited for the interception on that play, not Cam Kelly. Joe Hayden's going to have 6 interceptions in my charting this year because he's tipped 2 passes that have led to Minkah interceptions. So that's something that we do, at least, because I think it makes more sense to give credit to the guy that tipped the ball as opposed to the guy that just, was the fortunate, right place, right time kind of guy.
Let's see. He says, what other stats would you like to see tracked outside of receiver interception? Man, just I'd have to sit here and write them all down sometimes. I mean, there's things that creep into my head that I forget about the next morning too, sometimes as well too. So I just think they could do a better job with more official stats with this. The only thing with that is I think to make it fair, you'd have to go back through old tape and stat those as well too, so you could have some line of comparison. Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I'm just watching the fake punt again and Chicolo's reaction to it after, just like, what? He puts his hands up like, what just happened?
And but what do you think about what Barry's thinking?
Seeing stars.
Speaking of snaps, should we be worried about Pouncey snapping? I wonder if he hurt his hand or something, because I don't remember so many snaps ever being an issue. Seems like nearly 10 a game. I don't know. He's always had kind of.
Has it been this bad, though? It feels unusually bad.
I think it's recency bias.
You think?
I think so.
All right.
And Ben's been a bad ball catcher for many.
That's true.
For many years. I don't know. I'd have to go back and that's one other thing. Probably need a chart, right?
Yeah.
There you go, Adam. Yeah. You just created bad snaps. Hey, why not? That's another way to kind of evaluate these guys here. I could spend a whole afternoon probably coming up with a bunch of those. Let's see here. Christopher Schrader writes in, I'll skip the pleasantries. You guys know you're the best in the business at tactically and technically breaking down the Steelers. Thanks for that, Chris.
We like hearing it, though, so feel free to say it.
Yeah. Look, we enjoy learning every game. I don't know about you, Alex. Monday night at around midnight or midnight my time. No, it'd be midnight your time.
Mm-hmm. You got lucky. You got a little earlier.
Yeah, I still got to get up early, though. Jeez. But anyway, it's like Christmas, that moment that you see that all 22 drop and load up on that screen, you get that kind of that tingly feeling.
Oh my God! Where's the first place you go to? Do you have anywhere you just look for a big play, or is there?
I go straight to big plays, a sack, or like the Devlin Hodges play on third down. I think I went straight to that this gotcha. Last time, because I wanted to see how his posture was, his move outside the pocket, how he squared up, and how he delivered the football. And I wanted to see one thing you can't tell on TV tape is how Deontay Johnson comes back to that. So I looked at it as it's usually a big play of some sort that I go straight to.
Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, you know the feeling. You can't wait for that thing to drop.
Yeah, I just wish they wouldn't have it at midnight. It was at the start of the year. They had it, at a reasonable hour, Monday afternoon. The games would slowly come out. Now they wait for the Monday night game to end, and that's frustrating.
They want us to watch the Monday night game.
Well, the ratings are hard. ESPN's not saying the ratings were down because of Game Pass. I don't know.
All right. Chris writes in, would you bring back Sean Davis and plug him in for Terrell Edmonds? I'll give you a short answer. No. And when he is eligible to return, if he's healthy. He's eligible to return right now. I just don't think he's healthy right now. Terrell's non-takeaways in that jump and miss on the touchdown catch by the Cardinals was just terrible. I will agree with that last part of it. I got a feeling, based on absolutely nothing, either this week or next week, Terrell Edmonds is going to make a big play.
God, I hope so. He needs to. There have been very, very few of those in his career. Davis sounds unlikely to return this year, so I think it's kind of a moot point.
If he is healthy, would you bring him back right now? Would you plug him in if you had Sean Davis 100% cleared right now? Would you plug him back in for Terrell Edmonds?
Probably not. I mean, just in the sense of Davis has missed so much of the year, and again, the defense is playing well right now. Why kind of mess with a good thing? Now maybe Davis get what's working dime packages or different sub stuff, but as much as I've been critical of Edmonds, I wouldn't bench him for Davis.
There are some times in that defense when he's down low too. I don't think he knows what he's looking at sometimes. There are those moments where I wonder, is he?
Look, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would say he just has no ball skills. I mean, but to be fair, Davis is not exactly the definition of a playmaker either. So it's not like you're going to get a huge upgrade there if he would have come back hypothetically.
I think Edmonds is the better tackler of the two.
Yeah, I think they're kind of similar. They're similar people, as in good athletes, probably drafted because of that, and without super splash plays that hurt you. I think Davis is a more cerebral player than Edmonds, but he's also obviously a little more experienced.
Chris Warren writes in, hey guys, I'm so proud of the Duck. I laid 500 bones on the Steelers yesterday, in large part based on my trust in our defense, but I'm also based in my trust in the Duck won't kill us. He's making plays with both arms and legs. I would love to see us get a bit more creative and early down so that Duck isn't just throwing the ball in situations where the opponent knows that we have no other choice. Give him some second and short situations, and he'll be able to throw the ball down the field under less pressure. I guess we have to go back and look at how many. Look, I mean, you go back to people forget, man. Been through for a lot of yards, in 2018. I don't remember this team being all that great on first and 10s.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers for that, but I mean, Sunday against Arizona, they opened up the game, 11 personnel, and Samuels caught it for 18 yards. So they were aggressive. They kind of ran it the rest of the first half, but they opened it with a pass.
Let's see. I think we got it there, Alex. Communication from Jake Marion is it's fun to enjoy all this winning, especially with a stingy defense that gets turnovers. Personnel-wise, Minka at safety, Bush at inside linebacker, and Nelson at cornerback have made a big difference, as well as Bud showing us that he can do I think we already read this. We did read this one the other day, so I'm into the old stuff already. Okay, with that, you got anything else to add before we get out of here at the 2-hour mark, Alex?
Nope, that's everything. We'll be back on Friday to cover the Bills.
All right. In the meantime, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. You can email the show, theterriblepodcast at gmail.com. It's Christmas time. If you got a donation or a Christmas gift for us, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. If you like what we do, the additional Alex dating service is free of charge. I'm not going to, and nor the visuals of me taking Alex's temperature. Those I think that got a few laughs on the Twitter machine as well this week. Look, if you enjoy what we do, let us know. Send us an email, send us a PayPal donation. Go to SteelersDepot.com, hit that PayPal button, upper right navigational bar. Also, you want to help us? You want an ad-free version of the site and help yourself? Go to SteelersDepot.com, hit that ad-free button. Upper right navigational bar for $25 for 1 calendar year. You can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, and it's been wildly popular for as long as we've had that in place now there. So with that, Alex, great job this week. Appreciate all that you've done, all that the guys continue to do on the site as well, too. We appreciate all the great traffic. We're having just a fantastic month of December. We had a fantastic month of November. We couldn't have done it without all of you, all of yins listening there. So in the meantime, until Friday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.